Hans will leave you to just...
Yeah, when you sort of invite the professor, what you get an exam. So I'm going to put some questions to you. And it has been distributed to you, this little gadget. It fell off the chairs. So can you find this? The value is 800 crowns, so don't step on it. It was difficult. So each one, take one each of these. And then I would like just to put some simple questions to you here. Where do the 7 billion people in the world live? Huh? There are 7 billion people. Do they live like this, distributed on America, Europe, Africa, and Asia? Or are they distributed like this, or are they distributed like this? A, B, or C? Please press. If you change your mind, you can press again. The wonderful system will take the last one. I'm cruel, and I won't give you the right answer until later. This is how many children there are in the world, children below 15. When I was born, 1948, we were less than 1 billion. And then it has been growing like this, so the turn of the century, almost 2 billion. One of these lines is the projection by the population expert at United Nations. The other two I made up. They are fantasies. What do the experts say? Do they say, we have to expect that the number of children continue to rise and it will be about 4? Do they say, no, it's slowing down, so it will be about 3? Or do they say, the number of children have stopped growing, it will remain 2? A, B, or C? Please answer. In the world today, 30-year-old men report having been 8 years to school. So that's what the 30-year-old men have done. Huh? What do 30-year-old women report? Have they been 3 years to school, 5 years to school, or 7 years to school? Please answer, A, B, or C. So, what percent of the 1-year-old, the children, you know, between 1 and 2, when they're the age they should have the vaccines, how many of them have got the basic vaccines, the most important being measles in the world today? Is it 20% of the children? Is it 50%? Or is it 80%? Please answer. Thank you. Now your knowledge is digitally stored into this system. And I will leave over to my boss to talk about how we are trying, or have been trying, to affect the knowledge. And then I will come back with the answers later.
My name is Ola Rosling. I'm the director of my father and of the Gapminder Foundation. So me and my wife, we do the strategic thinking, and I'm going to walk you through why did we come to this point where we ask these nasty questions. So let's start from the beginning. This is the first bubble chart that Hans made, actually at the university for his teaching in 1998. We're pretty back far in history. And it had no color, so he started adding color by hand, actually, late at night. And he improved it. Hans took it to this level on his own. That's pretty good, actually, together with some graphic designer. He showed this to me and Anna when we were studying economic history, art, photography, and sociology at the university. And at least me, I said, this is excellent, because I figured out my friends also, and me, I didn't have this worldview. I didn't realize this is more or less what it looks like. It shows income on the x-axis. That's economics, studied at the economic department. On the y-axis, it shows life expectancy. No, this one has child survival up to age 5. That's not studied at the economic department. So these two data sets often don't come together. But when you put them together, it gives a multidimensional picture of the world, which tells us many different stories. So we went on, I dropped out, we started developing software. At this point, Hans was already a professor at the university, but with these softwares, he became a famous professor. So we turned, this is version number 5 of the software. We're now in 2001. Several years later, I learned to program myself because we had no funding for the first 2 years. Then when WHO said, yes, we like this software, the Swedish aid agency SIDA was nice and contributed with funding, and we could start our little team of developers. Eventually, we got lots of requests because we figured out you can show any kind of time series in multidimensional. So we realized there should be a commercial interest in this. We started to looking for partners, and we realized that the Google business model was really the good one, because in Google's philosophy, it's all about free access. So we sold the software to Google, and me and my wife, we worked for Google for 3 years in California. We developed the Public Data Explorer at Google, and more important was to realize that visual exploration tools, they are great, but people at Google, they come, they search, and if they can't find the answer, they leave. So we integrated public data into the search results. I was the product manager of public data at Google, and this technology is up and running, and more public statistics are being accessible, easy in the Google search results. After building that technology, me and my wife Anna, who's senior user experience designer at Google, we decided to leave back to Gapminder because there were certain things that we couldn't exactly achieve at Google, which we still wanted to achieve. So Google keeps developing the technology, and we went back to Gapminder. But this time, we had 3 years of training at a very successful corporate. So we learned something. We went back to Gapminder and asked ourselves, well, Hans did this bubble chart as well with BBC, which ended up having millions of viewers on YouTube. We went back to Gapminder saying, we need a mission statement for this. There's obviously some need for Gapminder, but what is it? We figured out that our mission is to fight devastating ignorance with a fact-based worldview that everyone can understand. It's really good to have a mission. Otherwise, you end up doing things and people like it and they ask for more of something, and it can lead you anywhere. With Google's mission statement in mind to organize the world's information, we learned how useful that is to actually run an organization. Based on this mission, it basically clarifies that there is certain ignorance which nobody else is fighting, so it just keeps existing. This brings us back to the questions that were asked before. We have now very structured, been polling the public in Sweden, in UK, in US, these kind of questions. And we have very rapidly found lots of ignorance about core statistic trends and distributions. And it's not that people are evil or stupid. It's just very important to get these facts right. I'm going to just briefly run through the projects that we are developing now in the future. And starting with the Ignorance Project, Hans, you could probably disclose whether there is ignorance in this room or not, based on the
Should I do that?
Yes, right now.
Yeah, I don't know.
But try to keep it short, and then I'll go back and continue in my slide.
Yeah. So I go back up here, that's where we were. This is how you answer. Look. Huh? 13% of you thought that there were 2 billion people in America. 49% thought that it was 2 billion in Africa. The rest, 33%, got it right.
37.
37, yeah. So, sorry. Among the chimps it would be 33, wouldn't it? It's just by random, can you see? By random, we would have the same result. Now, when we asked the Swedes, this is what they got. So you are better than the Swedes. Yes. So you are clearly above here, you know. And this is the Americans. Because we worked with Novos and other web-based companies, and we asked this knowledge. It was quite amazing that the macro distribution is not known. And I've tested this other one, why do we think that there are twice as many people in Africa as it is? People are worried about population growth in Africa. Half of you can relax. It will take 35 years. 35 years until they will reach what you think it is already today. Huh? Next question. How many children? This is how you answered. Huh? And this is an amazingly good result.
Yeah.
Huh? And I think Gapminder should take part of the credit of that result. Huh? And this is what the Swedes and US answer. Huh? Because the right answer is this. The number of children in the world have stopped growing. It's the biggest event in human history that has ever been missed by media. It's absolutely amazing. And there's a very strong idea that things are happening in the world that are not happening. How could it be? How could it be like this? Well, you see, this is the world, you know, and the 7 billion is 1 billion there, 1 there, 1 there, 1 there. So remember now after this lecture, pin code of the world 1114. 2050, 1 billion more there, 1 billion more in Africa. That's where half of you think it's already happened. And then by the end of this century, no more in America, Europe, or Asia, but 1 to 2 billion more in Africa. And if I divide this in half billions, 10% of the world population will be living in the Old West, 80% in Africa and Asia. This is the slide which is most favored by the CEO of the big companies that I'm lecturing to. Companies to all of my co-workers, they say. We have to grasp this. And to our surprise, our information has been on high demand in the highest level in financial and corporate sector. This was what you answered. Now, why did it happen? Because this is how fertility rate dropped in Europe. This is how it dropped in the Americas. This is how it dropped in Asia. Very fast, came down to almost 2 children per woman in Asia. And Africa, as it starts dropping, yes, it's on its way. And all experts know that this will happen. And this is the average in the world. We are on 2.5 children per woman today. It's not known. Because we still talk about developing world and many children. Yes, the poorest countries, Afghanistan and Congo, have 5 to 6 children. But they are 1/5 of mankind today. And as Ola said, there are some, you know, emerging market, you know the money axis. Or you know education, you know one of the axes, but the overview is not so very commonly to know. And this is a fact what will happen. The number of adults will increase from this day, but not the children. I call it peak child. Peak oil is debated, this is true. This is how it will happen. We have Europe, America, Africa and Asia. Already today, as many under 15 in Africa as it is in Europe and America. 15, 30, 45, 60, this is me up here. 65 in Europe. What will happen is that the old people will die, the rest will grow older, and then they will have children. The old will die, the rest will grow older, and they will have children. The old will die, the rest grow older, and they will have children, and the old die, and the rest grow older, and they have children, and we are in 2085. This is a fill-up of adults. It's inevitable. And this is also an example of the prototypes that Anna and their team make and provide me with so I can go on my roadshow testing and get all the credits.
It works.
This is longer life. It's a minor thing. The main thing is the fill-up. Now, this is how you answered on this question. Oh, quite even. This is the right answer. This is the right answer. And this is what the Swedes say. So you beated the Swedes and the Americans again. Yeah. But you see, this is very unknown that today women are catching up. The big injustice to young women and girls today is that when they have gone through school and often have, or mostly have done better than the boys, then they are stopped. Then they are not safe. Then they cannot choose. It has there are still some areas where girls have difficulties coming to school. The main injustice to young women is after at least primary school today. So finally, this is what you said here. And here you were exceptionally knowledgeable. Because the right answer is this one. And the answer we get is this. This has been shockingly to us. Like 8% in Sweden know that 83% of the children are vaccinated. And in the United States it's 70%. This is the core, the main, the first thing of aid. We lack a lot of knowledge about the world.
So I must interrupt you because we have limited time. And let's see if my slideshow comes after this one. This is how to use PowerPoint. Okay. Ignorance project. So we're running polls. We've been experimenting in UK, Sweden, and US to actually make sure that we are fighting actual ignorance. Because we've been wrong several times. We think that the public have certain ignorance, but we figured out through the polls that we were wrong. It's very interesting. But then suddenly we figure out a huge ignorance somewhere. Of course, we get mass media attention when we publish these kind of numbers, but we need also to provide the teaching tools. So to have any real impact in the world, we've figured out that we need to give teachers methods in the classroom which regular teachers, we call them careful teachers, are capable of using with their school children. Online courses are nice. They will not change the basic education system for quite some time, I believe, because most students would never spend their spare time on an online course. And in classrooms and in schools, the computer is still not there. So we're developing offline and online teaching tools that they can download and use in classrooms. We don't need to rely on the student finding our courses. We need to give teachers equipment which they can use. This project has been funded by the IKEA Foundation together with Sven Hagströmer and also Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. So we have multiple funders of a huge teaching platform which we're going to launch in September or something like that. This is actually the first time I show this publicly. It will also be useful on cell phones because we figured out when we visited 25 different countries and schools that cell phones is going to be the device for looking and using our tools in the future. It's very difficult to design an interactive bubble chart on a cell phone, I can tell you. So we're developing very small fractions of videos which goes together with the visualization and with exercises. That's the teaching platform. Now Anna will tell you more about the shortcomings of the statistics and Dollar Street.
Okay. So I'm going to be very brief, and I'm going to just show you a sneak preview of another project we're working on that's called Dollar Street, and it's funded by Swedish Postcode Foundation. And the whole idea is to make people understand how everyone lives. And the reason for this is, even though we make these very easy to understand graphics like this one, spending time in the classroom, it turns out that it's not that easy actually for students to understand what does this mean, even though we see the economic distribution here. So basically the mountain is where people live, and you can see the incomes. It's an economic axis, right? But actually making it understandable what that would mean for a normal person in an everyday life. When we get images from the world, we always tend to get the rare cases, right? Because media focus on everything that is unusual. So what this project would like to do is to take the statistics and make it visual through photo and video and show the common cases. I'm just going to show you, I'm just going to step you through a bunch of photos quickly. So imagine you remove the mountain with the image, with the mountain of people. Instead you put houses. So here you have the poorest home of the world. Here you have the richest, and you have the others in between. It's like a mental concept, and that is what we call the Dollar Street. And imagine that that you can go and visit those homes at different income levels and see how the standard of living is changing when you move around on the street. Or that you could actually stand on a certain point and you can compare many different homes on that income level of different regions, cultures and geographies and see what actually seems to be like economic boundaries for how you organize your life and what can be sort of the cultural aspects. So I'm just going to show some example where you can see the differences. If we look at play areas, for instance, here are some play areas we have collected so far. We are in US, here in China, Thailand, Cambodia, South Africa, Burkina Faso. It's just to get you an idea of the common things all of us are doing. Shoes, different types of shoes we have as we go down the income level, and we come far down, we will have no shoes. Or we can do comparisons and see that we have the same things, even though we are in different regions here. We have sort of the same way of cooking, where you have wood, and you have some sort of a structure, and then you have a pot on top. Quite easily. And you can see here in the different places how it's sort of the same structure. So basically what we would like to do, we would like to, each home we visit will be categorized through, we go through statistics to select homes, and then each home will have like 130 photos from a set list of items. We will have 40 video clips showing how these items are used. For instance, this is the stove, and then we will have a video clip how you actually lit it. or we will have where you wash hands, and so on. And we will have a questionnaire about the home and the family in each home. So the Dollar Street concept will consist of the basics of 100 homes all over the world, sorted by income. It should be easy to understand, and it should be free of charge. And it should also be, so the whole imagery behind it should be downloadable for free for anyone to use in any publication or wherever it would fit. So the idea is basically just to give like a statistical overview that is based on photos, that is based on statistics, sort of. So thanks.
So that's the summary, yes. And Anna is the product manager, and she is the one of us with best judgment. So she says, this project will fly, this one will not. I went to the school, the children don't understand what $1 per day means. I need to show them pictures of toilets. And so we go and we listen to Anna and we try to achieve these projects. So I'm just executing basically the ideas that pass Anna's filter. That's how we've been managing to collaborate. And I think that wraps up. We're figuring out the ignorance, creating teaching material, but the statistics doesn't do it, so we need to add photos as data. That's pretty much where we think Gapminder has a unique role, which no one else will be solving.
So remove this one.
Yeah.
It's not the best picture.
Yep. Thank you. So now the presentation is done. Now we can move over. Thank you very much.